Good evening and welcome everyone. Welcome to Wedmore Parish Council's meeting on the 19th of September 2018. Would all members be mindful that we are recording? Any apologies?
Yes, Chairman, from Councillors Badman, Bethel, Candy, Sampson and Tim.
Okay. Dave?
Oh, Chairman, thank you.
You're on.
Well, Chairman, as you can tell, the County Council on the news, and we're going from strength to strength. So providing you don't want any great money to do anything, we're still here, and we're still smiling. It's been very, very challenging. Making in-year savings to pay for some of our overspends in children's services is always going to be very painful. So, although having said that, I mean, from my own point of view, we run the biggest budget. We've just had to accelerate some of the plans that we had to do anyway. So, I suppose our biggest flack was Citizens Advice Bureau funding. We use them as a third sector organisation to fund our emergency care when you're absolutely down on your uppers and you've got no bed to sleep in and all those. It's an emergency fund which they administer on our behalf. Unfortunately, when we look into it, they actually spent more on administration than the fund actually spending the money. So all we're going to do is to we'll keep the amount of money we spend, but try and find a less expensive way of funding it. So. And I noticed coming up, we've had some correspondence from the Community Council about their successful village agent scheme. We agree with the village agent scheme, and they are hugely helpful for us. And that is perhaps one of the vehicles that we will use because they are very close to the community and know literally where all the problems are. So I've had a little chat with Steve earlier about the highway situation. He's met with Cat Tyson, and she's back in harness, and I've chinned her a couple of things. She promised that we would have some plans to look at, or you would have some plans to look at about a bit of an improvement at the top of Billings Hill, but it's not the fact that there's any money involved, because we were hoping that you might contribute towards it. It's just that we just currently don't have staff to do these things, which is quite extraordinary. So very frustrating. I have quite a lot of parishes in your position where you have money, so it's not a financial problem. You have money, the parishes have money to do things. We just can't find the officers to support it. But Catherine's doing her best, and I think Steve's doing a good job with her. So I'm quite happy to take anything else back with me, Chairman, if you like.
Do you have any? Yeah, do you have any?
Yeah, I'm interested in the village agents. I don't really have a question, but...
What do they do?
No, I know what they do, I'm pleased to say.
Okay, good.
It's... To what extent are they funded by Somerset?
Quite a lot, because they deliver quite a lot of our... they coordinate quite a lot of our micro-carers in the communities. You know, we have this very successful scheme where we have in each village, virtually in every village, and you may have some here I do not know, and they are self-employed carers, or they do a multitude of tasks, but they are local carers in the community. The village agent coordinates them to a less or a larger degree.
Sorry, I'll just put in there. Is there potential then that once, because the way that the finances are working with Somerset at the moment and district, will it be likely that you'll be looking for the parish councils to start funding?
Not in the formal sense, I don't think, Chairman. I mean, I don't think we're ever going to get to a stage, because the way that we're delivering care through our micro providers it is a business. We will employ them, their clients will employ them. The village agents, we think, are a pretty important part of this team now, and we've spent a lot of time and effort, not to least money, training them to do various things. And again, one of those administering the emergency fund would be right up their street, I think, actually.
I understand, Chairman, from the press release this morning that they've got enough funding now from the lottery to continue for another 3 years. So that's
That was one thing we looked at when the village agent certainly was introduced.
I mean,
We thought that,
I think
you know,
a common misconception about all third sector organisations is that they don't cost anything and they're charities. Well, they may be charitable organisations, but they certainly have costs. So the Citizens Advice Bureau is a classic example. You know, they were saying that, you know, their costs are quite extensive, and you'd think, well, why is that? Because they're surely all run by volunteers, but they used to be, but now they have full-time manager, full-time second in command, and special, you know, solicitors used to give up their time. Now I think they employ paralegals to help them out. All wonderful, but actually expensive, and quite a lot of the third sector organisations they actually also have very good PR departments, so they get very sniffy if we ask them to tender for something and they don't get the job. Well, we've been doing it for years. Well, actually, unfortunately, we think we found another third sector provider. So they are actually businesses in their own right, and I'm conscious of the fact that we are being recorded. So I'm being very careful what I say.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nick?
Just one point, going back to your PR comment. Village agents aren't particularly well publicised. We were right out in the cold. We didn't really know much about it until we went to see the doctor's surgery. Is there any way of promoting these people, or encouraging them to promote themselves? Because we just don't know about them. And I'm not arguing that they do a good job. I just don't know.
I think they are signposted from quite a lot of places. So I think you mentioned the doctor's surgery, which would be one place that they would signpost from. I suspect that if you rang Somerset Direct and asked for advice, they might say, oh, that's interesting, have you tried XYZ village agent? And up until quite recently, the coverage wasn't universal, so, you know.
Still developing.
Just to say that when I first heard of the village agent, I thought we had an agent for our village, but they have actually covered many villages, don't they?
And to be frank, when they started, we all kind of we were trying to work out what they did, because they tended to come to parish council meetings, introduce themselves, and then you never saw them again, because they were only funded for 2 hours a week or something, and so they found something else to do, I guess. So there was quite a bit of turnover, but who is your village agent?
Kirsty.
Kirsty, yes, that's
Kirsty, I think, lives in Glastonbury, and I think she does pretty much all my division, so that's quite a big area, isn't it? Because her name crops up in all the correspondence I run into,
I mean, is there any chance in the future that there will be more village agents who would have left?
But now,
that's the money.
But now we're coming into the third sector growth business, isn't it? You know, if you have a full-time village agent for Wedmore and a full-time village, suddenly we go, whoa, hang on, this is a very expensive system. We used to have that. We used to employ our own staff to do that. So, we've got to keep an eye on it.
Okay.
Nick?
No more.
Anyone else?
Okay, thank you,
Chairman,
Chairman.
thank you.
And Steve and I will continue to press for your little bits of
Please
improvement.
do, thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, I had an interesting site visit down at Travis Perkins in Bridgewater to look at containers that they are hoping, well, someone is hoping to convert into one-bedroom accommodation for, homeless people and things. I went with our sort of housing team from Sedgemoor, and it was really interesting. They are really nicely kitted out. The kitchens in particular are amazing, which they sourced from. They're trying to source a lot locally, but they're sourcing the kitchens from Germany, and they were really top notch actually, and the sort of decking outside, and you could see how actually, people would be very happy to live in one of them, but it would be a case of, kind of where you put it, where you put them, and, getting away really from the fact that they're containers, so it has to, like a brownfield site might be perfect. So I think that Sedgemoor were quite keen in potentially purchasing one, if not a few, to rent out, which would be quite interesting. Do you want to ask me something about it?
Yeah.
Go on.
After you.
No, it's fine.
Right, okay. container homes, well, containers, full stop.
Yeah.
They have cropped up time and time again in this area, and there are rules and regulations. They are not permanent. They shouldn't be permanent, at least, is my understanding. So, if they are on wheels and can be moved, then they have a degree of acceptance because they are judged as transient. And
Are you worried from a rural point of view?
no,
We've had it in the planning.
They're not going to do, this is going to happen in Bridgewater.
Right.
They know they won't fit in rurally, because they stick out like a sore thumb, they're hoping to do them within Bridgewater.
On brownfield signs.
Potentially, that's looking into the future, you could make a little
Just like the old
community.
prefab, really, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
It's
But
pretty fab
whether it'll
static,
take-
whatever you want to look at it.
Whether it will take off or not, I don't know, but they were pretty nicely done, and actually, someone who was desperate for a home, cost, well, to rent, I think it was about £400 a month
what?
Not bad,
in
is it?
rent.
What bungalow,
But
wasn't
you can
Buy a
buy
container for £1,000.
Yeah, but you can buy a properly
No, but they-
kitted out. Yeah, but we put up we bought a fully kitted out, facilities hut, everything in it for £14,000. Well, there's a 2-year
Well,
payback.
showers, kitchen,
Shower, kitchen, everything. Well, you could make it as one stud wall. Yeah.
not as a home though, as an office,
Yeah.
Well, it's no different. It's insulated.
it is different.
It's a container. It's exactly the same. It's a container
Yeah.
with insulated walls.
Started as a container, but it ended up with something else.
Anyway, that's what I went to see, and it was very interesting, and whether, they're potentially going
Sounds
to
good.
take one or two on, I don't know. Then we had a grants committee meeting last week. We had business grant applications in, paid out £72,000 for those, and the small grants we paid out just over 8,000. And then that evening we had a Conservative group meeting where David Fothergill came along from Somerset County Council to discuss various things, which obviously are not as confidential. But it was a bit funny that we were talking about how much money the grants were given away that day, and then he was telling us what they'd had to decide that day in his 6-hour meeting. Then the fire alarm went off and we had to board the meeting, so we all went home. The end. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Polly.
It's been
It's the
rescheduled.
end.
It's the end.
Thank you.
Hopefully not.
Okay, yeah. Thanks for that. Item 3, to record any declarations of interest. Okay. And item 4, sign the minutes of the last meeting.
Yeah.
Thank you. Move on to item 5, public participation.
Mr. Penny wants to talk about the street lighting in Washington Road, so just want to bring that forward.
Item 5.
What's the item?
13.
Sorry, the numbering isn't very right at the bottom of the agenda for some of you, but we're almost there. Number 13, Chairman.
Okay. Consider funding the new street lamp on Mudgley Road.
Just a bit of background, it's been going on for quite a few months now. So we had a request from a householder up there for a new lamp to be put on a pole. It's almost the last house the villagers should go out on the Mudgley Road. The one with the village sign is with the flower pots and there's a post there, which looks a very good post. I've been waiting for ages for a quote from the highways lighting people, and found it 3 weeks ago in the spam box in the computer. So, and the quotes they gave us haven't gone up very much since then. But if you want to hear what Mr. Penny has to say first.
Ian, to you.
Yeah, okay, right. My name's Ian Penny. I'd like to thank Parish for listening to my request for a street light on the Dangerous Bend coming into the village on Mudgley Road. I've lived in the Gables, which is adjacent to that bend, for the last 8 years. I've witnessed numerous near misses and accidents on that bend. A street light, I think, would highlight this bend as people come into it, illuminating the road bearing in mind there's no footpath on that road. And so if there was a light there, it'd make it, it'd be a double-edged sword to show people that there's this nasty bend, and also for pedestrians, it'd make it safer for them to walk into the village and back to the village, which we do quite frequently. Just below, the pole you talked about, which is a nice new pole, which was put in by the electricity people some years ago. Not at my request, but I had to have a new consumer unit put into I wanted to move the consumer unit, so it meant moving a pole from my neighbour's garden, resiting it, or a new one, right at the monthly sign, and running some new cables and stuff. It's not no bearing really on this, but that cost me over £1,000. I don't know why I said it really, but anyway. Right, so that's basically the two things. So the illumination for the cars coming in and for the pedestrians. To keep the cost down, I don't know if this is, if I should say this really, but I just wondered if it'd be possible to recite one of the 7 lights which are in Mill Lane, serving 11 houses, into that position. Especially one of the lights is actually in Mill Lane, sort of tucked away. That would probably open a can of worms because nobody wants to lose anything. It's just a suggestion. That's all.
It would make sense, but
yeah.
I don't know, it's a matter of light pollution as well, isn't it? I mean, some people don't like street lights outside their house. Maybe put a street light and you can find it around the bedroom window, so maybe the people in Mill Lane are glad to get rid of the street.
Possibly, because their bedrooms are actually on the road side as well.
yeah, that's right.
The bend you're talking about, is it the one where the footpath crosses the road?
Yes.
It's the last bend before you go down the hill, as it were, towards the Mudgee Crossroads.
No.
Coming from Mudgee into the village, where the Wedmore sign
The
is.
top of
Just by Mill Lane.
Mill Lane.
Yeah.
Where the bench is there, isn't it?
Yeah, just a little aside. I won't go my 3 minutes.
Yeah, it is a hazardous corner there, it is.
Yeah, and last year, some yobbos stopped there to spend a penny, I think, and when they were there, they decided to bend that sign down.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was,
We
I
paid
guess
for that.
pay for it to be repaired.
we chased them off. It's 2:30 in the morning. But anyway, so if they had a later, they probably wouldn't have stopped.
We get your point.
There is that one, yeah.
Ian, thank you.
Chairman, following the conversation with Mr. Penny's son-in-law, I think, following the conversation with one member of your family, anyway, an email, I did ask the highways people to quote for a new light, and the Wedmore, they call it the Wedmore Acorn type land, which is all the way up through the road up to the Mudgee Road there, will cost almost £2,500. And that would have to be funded entirely by the Parish Council.
Because we're not replacing something, are we?
No.
All these lights that are going, being replaced are a replacement.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
New sighting of the
We don't get charged for
Yeah.
bulb replacement or energy lamps.
Maintenance.
No.
Do I have a proposal? Polly?
No,
Sorry,
yeah.
David?
Chairman, we would generously pay for the electricity and the bulb replacements.
Very much.
So we'll pick up the ongoing costs, if that's any help. Because I think we can lose ongoing costs with the new, because if it's a new installation, we put in new lights and it wouldn't cost that much to run, but it is, something that we could contribute and possibly lose in the organisation.
Really? That's brilliant. Steve?
Sorry, Neil, my inclination is to support what the gentleman's saying.
Yeah.
My only thought is, should we not talk to the other people living completely adjacent to that and just check with them that we're not going to come up against opposition due to light pollution?
Ian, have you spoke to your neighbours about it?
No, I haven't, because they're probably nearest neighbours.
Yeah, they're
On the corner.
It wouldn't actually.
It's not a problem.
But I don't know. I think that you shouldn't dismiss that.
No,
Yeah.
it is a
I
fair comment.
think that if we could do, because we are going quite a way out of the village here. I know it's the entry boundary sign, but the boundary sign is out by Jessica's. We haven't got street lighting out there.
No,
There
don't want it, thank you.
There you go, see?
But there you go. And ultimately, is between the two properties, it would be Culliford's would be the
It would be curtains perhaps.
It's just for safety reasons, isn't it?
I think it is a dangerous bend, and there is a footpath that comes out on that bend, and people do come out of
We
these.
haven't budgeted for this, I must
No,
say.
Yeah, it's a very well used footpath. Lots of people walk their dogs there.
It's not going to happen next couple of months anyways.
But it just could we ask, Mr. Penny to inquire of his neighbours whether or not
Oh, yeah, certainly would.
whether they would be
Yeah.
supportive, in which case we could go ahead and provided that was support was forthcoming, we could support it ourselves. Particularly with
I suddenly realised we were being recorded. I hope you can. My gaffer doesn't hear that.
But you're not on screen, you've got to recognise the voice. David.
Only thing I would say, I mean, this £2,000 is a £2,500 is a sizable budget.
We were quoted for a lot more.
And I'm not
For one
I'm
individual.
just genuinely saying, in general, £2,500 does go a long way, potentially against other projects.
Yeah, but
I think the same
where the
thing.
project's forthcoming.
I mean, you've got.
Yeah.
Has there been a serious accident there? I mean, you look, if you went up to, Alan Wilcox's,
Yes, that's Maltfield.
Maltfield,
Well,
that's
we're still waiting
happening,
for the
and
chevrons.
we can get chevrons there.
That's highways.
But this is effectively what we're undertaking here.
Yeah.
I mean, people use their lights, we could put a chevron on that corner, and that would be a highways. There is a chevron there, is there not?
Where? Maltfield?
Right.
No,
Oh,
on this
on
one,
the-
next
yes.
to the Wedmore sign.
Yeah.
There is.
Quite a small one.
The single
It'd be
square.
actually nice to have a bigger one again.
I don't
I
know.
like all these signs. The
That
people
was
don't
that-
like all these signs everywhere.
I mean, if you go,
Tell them, us off for doing
if you
it.
go to planning for a planning application, light impact is looked at quite relevantly.
Yeah.
We're going out of the village there, increasingly.
Do I have a proposal?
Oh, sorry, Chairman, Mr. Penny was going to speak.
Were you
to
going
his
to
neighbours.
speak to?
I'll speak to my, could I ask them another question about, would they mind losing one of their lights in Mill Lane?
Yeah.
No, because I think that would, that's if I may, Chairman, I think that would cost more money than it's.
2 visits then, and it's a lot.
Alright, I just.
Isolating the current supply. Anyway, Polly.
Well,
So-
maybe could I propose we defer it to
Yeah.
another meeting when
Yeah.
Mr. Penny can go back to us and let us know how his neighbours
For next
go.
month?
Yeah, to the next
Yeah, yeah.
meeting.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, good night. Thanks, Chairman.
Thank you, time.
Good night, David.
We've had them overtake us on the 30-mile sign doing
No,
60
okay.
miles down through there. It's ridiculous.
Did you want a street light as well?
No, I don't want a street light.
You're not saying.
Steve Hughes will want to speak about it.
Anyway, right.
One thing that was neat is that we had that street light put up outside at the end of Tilton, at the end of Glanville Road. It just appeared.
Leo didn't even ask for it.
No.
I know.
We didn't even ask for it.
And they put a protected bollard in front of it,
Yeah.
which is amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
But they still managed to hit that
Yes.
It's getting
gentleman's
fence, yeah.
fence. Anyway, item 6, any matters arising?
The car park signage, I don't know whether.
Yes, I've had conversations with Wedmore School about perhaps a possible idea for them to be involved in a sign design. It's thrown up more questions than answers, but that's a good thing. That's not a reason not to do it. But I don't know if this is the right space of time to discuss some questions I want to put to you to go back to them. So things like, first of all, are there rules and regulations about signs?
This concerns me.
Yeah. I mean, I personally don't think that's a reason not to investigate a sign to advertise our parking, because we've talked about this for a long time. And therefore, what are those rules and regulations? And if we had some ideas about what the size and shape of a sign and where it would be positioned ideally. So, for instance, would it be, over the top of I'm just giving that as an example, over the top of the entrance or to one side? So, for instance, this weekend the beer festival oblong has been there, kind of going like that. I thought it was quite effective.
Yeah.
Very block, very
Yeah.
eye-catching.
Yeah.
Is that dangerous? Are we allowed to do something like that? What would be the material? And so on. And then therefore we have to answer those questions before I go back to them. But initially the idea was well received. So we need to make some progress if we're going to make some progress.
I don't know who would be the contact, Steve.
I mean, it's off the highway.
Who are you going to?
Who would be the contact to speak about signage? You're well into your signage, aren't you?
Well, I think this young lady seems to be our point of contact, Catherine Tyson. I'll email you.
And I'm happy to make correspondence
It's,
and ask
it's
you
like
questions.
a 30-mile-an-hour sign. There's a
Yeah.
specific, size, all the sort of. And I think car park signs are
It won't
probably
be
going to be
hers,
the
but
It'd be
same.
an idea just to get a template made then, and
Sorry.
take the idea then to find out what the signage is, make
Yeah.
a template and
Yeah.
then take it to the.
That's exactly
Yeah.
what we want to do. And then, and I think so say we get permission and we get an idea of size and shape. I'd like some suggestions from you about what the wording would be. And I know that sounds very simple, but what the wording that a child would put into a design. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So there's a few steps to this process that we need
It's
to.
worth talking to the people in County Hall.
Yeah, for that, I know it's a simple question, but that's what I want to give them if they're going to be on board for a design.
So, but initially, I appreciate that signage for a parking is a blue square and that arrow. When I initially brought this up at that meeting, my thoughts were more so is removing it from the roadside, so it wasn't a highways issue, and putting it back on that wooden fencing that goes back, the entrance to the cattle grid, both ways as such. So it's not a highways issue then at all. It's just a colourful alternative to the blue sign that will have to be there because that's what they. But you're off the highway is no different to any other sort of billboard that could be in anyone's garden. Then it's on.
Do you want to be able to see it? Certainly coming into the village, you want to see it. You want to see it, won't you? So you want something in a direct line of sight.
Leave it to Louise in terms of, and see what she comes up with. I mean,
Because it was also
there is
that
restrict-
is what I'd seen the other day. This is within the car park,
Yeah.
so you could have, it's a.
So Ricky's showing me a design of that kind of you are here kind of idea.
But a small,
Once they're in the car park.
kids. I mean, this is in Burnham. I've seen it.
Yeah.
Is it Burnham?
Yeah.
The opposite Aldi.
Little there.
Yeah. But there's a little sign.
That's right.
So
That's fine. That's good.
That's
That's fine.
Yeah.
because you're then in the car park. Oh, where do I walk from here?
Yeah, true. It's not necessarily.
It's not necessarily
clear.
that was signposted.
No,
it's not. No, it's-
No, and I
To
actually
go to the
directed
village from the car
somebody
park.
this weekend. They didn't.
And you might get as far as not in front. You
We
get as
could
far
have
as
to
the
the
Lurn
village
Road.
sign.
Yeah.
I mean, no,
There is something in the car park in there, but it's not like again. It's not very well.
It's not part of the
It's
shop.
not very
Yeah.
very good. Is it?
because we want
Okay.
it.
Good.
I thought it might be a good thing that you get the kids involved.
Email her and copy you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Could you please advise my colleague, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
She'll at least put you through the person who deals with signs.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
say,
absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So are we happy with me to go on with this?
Yes.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Fine.
Are you happy to
Thank
go on
you.
with it?
Yeah, of course.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's Cheswood.
Can somebody please clean the signs by the car park?
Yes,
and
I know,
by
I
the
told-
trees?
Yeah, that's
I told Will this week.
Yes. I mean, it's getting greener and greener.
Yeah, it is.
I know it might want to be green, but we
Yeah,
don't want
totally
it to
agree.
algae on it. Yeah.
Okay. Item B is me.
Yeah.
Disabled access. I know you spoke.
I spoke to Pete Brown and he was waiting for Beecher to come back. Pat Beecher to come back from holiday.
In answer to you, Suzanne, from the email. Okay, so Pat Benjamin knows about it, but what we want to do, so we're just waiting for him to.
He's going to get one of his juniors to work on it
To
because
work
that
on
way
it.
it's a cheaper thing for the council.
Keep
If you
costs.
ask Pete Brown to do it, he charges sort of £5 an hour. And we get a junior doing it for about 50.
That's quite cheap.
£4 for student.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pete Brown's very cheap if he charges £5.
It's on the camera, I just threw it in.
Okay.
I'll send him a copy of the top.
Okay. Item C. then.
Yeah, I did mention last time about a developer coming into Coombe Lane on the right hand side as you go down towards the allotments. They were going to come to this meeting, but they've asked them to come to the next meeting and talk to us. I don't know, do you know who they are?
It was only.
Is this the same one that they put up for the neighbourhood fund?
Um,
Yes, I think so.
That
In the
was,
orchard.
that we went and had a look at.
Sort of Coombe Lane there, yeah.
Yeah, it's like that.
Property Link UK at Watchfield, they're based. Property Link UK, they're called, and they want to come along to the October meeting.
They're doing
Discuss the
involved in
potential
the houses.
And the hybrid, yeah.
Everybody's like building houses.
Okay.
So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Item 7.
Yeah, the books balance, Chairman, had both the audits back to the councillors, and all the bills have been paid today.
Right, item 8, Steve, to consider purchasing a speed indicator device.
Yeah, there's a lot of, what should I say, there's a lot of fog around this subject. Having talking to David Huxtable, then again talking to the traffic engineer at County Hall. We've got two options really. We can either go with what County Hall say we should be doing, which is we find volunteers who go on a training course, we buy the traffic indicator, the speed indicator device, and we move it around the parish every 2 or 3 weeks. Because they don't like permanent ones for some reason. I mean, their main reason for not liking is they say that people become complacent, don't notice them. But I've reminded them that if you go drive around Somerset, there are plenty of permanent ones. If you drive through Somerton Street, there they are. And I say, I'm a regular driver through the village, and I know if it flashes up to me on speed, it makes me take my foot off the pedal. It doesn't
need shit for
they've just got this blanket, they've got this blanket policy. Once it's policy, that's it, you see. I've asked David if we can change policy. He said, well, off the record, I know we're being filmed, she confirms it with me, this traffic engineer, off the record, that what people are doing, and Ashcott have done it apparently, and Wendon PC are doing it themselves. What they've done is they've got their own cameras, but then they decide how often they move them. So for example, we might say, well, we think we've got a problem at Coombe, so we'll stick a camera there, and then maybe in a certain period of time, a year's time maybe, we'll ask the company that it's doing because you're now moving down to Blackburn.
Move it tomorrow.
We control how often it's moved, really. So we won't call it, the trick is, it seems, Neil, is that we don't call it a permanent installation.
Yeah, it's work.
The challenge we need, the challenge is we've got to find a couple of volunteers who are willing to go and be trained, because it's this traffic highways thing, we have to wear high vis jackets to be safe, and you may know, and we've got to find a couple of, whereas before I was thinking, well, if we could say we're just going to go and buy one from the company, and just get them to install it, it's done. But we've got to go through the motions with county highways and get a couple of people trained.
So what are the associated costs?
Well, the costs still work out about £2,500. That's including the cost of training. I think it's about, I can't remember all the costs now, Neil, but I think we as a council really have got to decide, do we go ahead? If so, let's find a couple of volunteers. I think it was £300 each to get the volunteers trained at County Hall.
So Steve, can I ask you a quick question? So are we talking about a permanent sign thing that flashes up when you drive towards it, or are we talking about a handheld thing?
No, permanent sign.
So why do you need training?
Well, because you've got to be able to go and take it down and move it.
Well, I thought we were
And you've got to take the
companies
data
do
from
that.
it.
Didn't you just say
No, to get a new one and install it permanently, we can get a company to do it, and that's what I've got quotes for. But in terms of getting it regularly moved and having the data taken from it, and because they're still in this mindset about it's there for a period of time to detect a problem. Now we know they're a problem because they've been moving the speed indicator devices about for years, and they sent us data. This guy Dave, who's retired, and they're not replacing him. We know where there is, there's people's speed, and just by being there, living here, we know, don't we? But yeah, I think the cost. Here we are. The biggest consideration the Parish Council decided to purchase and operate their own portable SID is ensuring there are enough qualified volunteers available to install and remove it. In order to work on the highway, the installer needs to be trained to Chapter 8 accreditation standard, which costs approximately £300 to £400 per person. This is in addition to buying the blooming thing.
That sounds like half a minute.
We would recommend a minimum of 2 people being trained to cover the holiday and sickness, otherwise the SID is on it. But that's quite good, it can stay away from my view.
If we employed the company to move it, what's the cost
I was thinking,
to offset?
why don't we ask these 2 or 3? She said to me, this girl who came and visited the highway engineer, that they do use the one of the ones we've got a quote from here. And I thought, well, if we ring them and say, look, we want you to install an SID, and we want you to move it occasionally, so it's not permanent. And liaise with Somerset County Council, what will be the cost of moving it?
Yeah, that's what we need to find
We
out.
could treat with a move.
We were spending
We could treat with a move.
up to £1,000
that's right.
possibly, because it would be travel expenses.
I've got a feeling in
various
terms of
wherever
putting back,
courses.
and maybe the entrance to
There'd be
the back.
£1,000 for
Maybe that's it, right? Occasionally it'd be a good thing to have. I think we all agreed on that, didn't
Yeah, but we need to agree, yeah, so you would sort of have, like 3 sites, or probably 3
And
sites.
I think what happened then, people would probably identify more, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Once it was used, maybe.
So out of those 2 or 3 companies that seem to be, Somerset County seem to be happy with, shall I ask them what the cost of moving it is?
I'd actually, because this keeps coming up on the agenda, and nothing gets done.
That's right.
I'd like a proposal to, let's get this moving, or not, because it just keeps
Well, I
getting
thought we
kicked
had,
in the
I
long
thought some
run.
months back, I thought we had agreed that we would go ahead with it. Subject to county highways, I thought we had.
We didn't.
next year.
We were looking in more cost things. So, do I have a proposal?
Refer it.
Well,
I would like to suggest that we go ahead and,
What with?
I think we need to find these costs. We
yeah.
can't just go. We're going to buy one and
the cost of it being moved.
then get left
I mean,
with.
so we've only just found out the way we can go ahead doing it, really.
Right.
Because the priorities-
I think we should defer it till next month's
Yeah, make a
meeting,
decision.
with a firm view of making a decision on what.
Definitive view.
A definitive,
yeah, and proper
Does this
answer.
contractor still own the equipment then, or are we buying it
No,
from
we
the
buy it,
contractor?
we own it.
We own it, we asked them to come and move it.
That's right. They do maintenance, they do a maintenance contract anyway, so.
No, you're saying, for argument's sake, it could cost £350 to move it from there to Blackford.
Yeah.
Sending one person on a course costs £400.
That's
And you
right.
send 2. So you could effectively move
And
it
then
for
in
a
a year's
year.
time, they're not available, we've got to start again.
Yeah, and you could move it for a year
Yes.
for the same price. So, and then it'll,
And I think as long as we can satisfy County Hall's thoughts on it's not permanent, they'll be quite happy.
Mhm.
As soon as we start talking about permanent, they.
Well, we can just set out a
I
programme.
did say this to the traffic
Yeah.
engineer, I said, look, if we employ a company to do this, would you be happy?
Okay.
She said, oh yeah, we get somebody, anybody to do it, as long as they're accredited.
Sorry,
I
Steve,
just-
Sorry,
I
Steve.
missed
Steve.
something. When they say they get twitchy about permanent, so we can't make our own decision about that?
Yeah.
That is,
Yeah, we can.
right.
Just, she told me that when.
I'm sorry if I missed that, I
When
don't
they were doing it, and
understand.
actually not getting their own.
Just, so we can
They
overrule that if we
don't
decide.
rely on us to move it about. They don't know how often we're moving it. They don't have to come and check.
Right.
We're telling them it's an SID, we're moving about the
Semi-permanent.
parish.
Look at planning.
yes.
So, when you say you're moving it back from site to site,
Yeah.
does that site have to be a site
They've
with
got a
a pole in it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we if you were saying you wanted it maybe to put it in 5 sites,
Phil?
or
Yeah,
but you'd
but they have to
have
be surveyed
5.
first.
Pillars.
You'd have 5
Yeah.
pillars.
Like they do at the moment, they move them round.
So you'd have to put 5
Yeah.
pillars in.
Yeah.
Put them
Yes,
against
there are.
lampposts, you put them on
Some
the
lampposts.
You just put them on like
Yeah.
on the sign post, the 30 miles on
They
it.
just clamp on, you know.
Yeah.
You don't have to erect
I don't come. We need to clarify
Anyway, so
that.
what's
We need to
asking?
clarify
Yeah,
that.
just, yeah.
Just tell me again what we need to clarify.
How they need to
These
be
are
sized, what they need to be fixed.
Yeah. Shall I ask,
What they-
shall I
what
ask
the
one of
power-
these the outfit that seem to give us the best proposals, ask them to come to our
That'd be lovely,
meetings.
wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it really? They're not going to come on a Tuesday night.
Oh, ask them. Why not?
Wednesday.
Oh,
Wednesday.
Wednesday.
That's why they won't
Wednesday.
come, because the meeting's on
Ask
Wednesday.
them.
We just get a price and say yes or no.
Okay, I'll get them, if not, I'll get the pricing details.
So we can
Just
definitely go ahead and meet some.
conscious of the amount of money, but also that let's get it right.
Yeah.
Phil has an outstanding post,
Yeah.
upstanding poll. So,
Blackford definitely, yeah.
just for Polly's benefit.
We might end up getting to the point of sponsoring a poll for the.
And we could do.
But when you talk
I
about
didn't
Someone
sponsoring,
thought
realise
Section 8 to go and install it.
when you talk about
Oh, you see.
sponsoring, if you remember when we had the village signs made in 1978 or 79, something, the village
Yeah.
signs,
Yeah.
they were all sponsored by people. So we don't necessarily have to consider that we are going to have to pay for everything that we have. If we want to have a big suggestion like this, we can always try and get sponsorship for these things. We don't always have to just say, no, we can't afford it.
That's right. But I think we should find out all the associated costs first,
Exactly.
and we could then be accused of
We
being
can't afford it, or
frivolous with the money.
Yeah.
Okay, Neil, I know what I've done.
Thank you, Steve.
Next meeting, make a decision.
Nice, thank you.
Same price as street light.
Exactly. Okay, item 9.
Thank you, Steve.
Yeah, well done, Steve.
To consider the letter of resignation from Councillor Whittingham and to decide on further action. Obviously, you've all read Alex's resignation. Great loss to the Parish Council and the community as a whole for all his work. Not all of you saw a lot of the letters that he did write, certainly on Nick's behalf and Rod and myself. So certainly a thanks from the three of us. But where to go now, really? And what's our options with regard to replacement and?
We've got a temporary chairman of the planning authority.
I was going to come to that. Yeah.
Temporary. Just thought I'd emphasise that. I thought it was snurr.
We talk about Alex first.
We bear in mind next year,
It's
March or
elections.
May is election year.
Right.
We're talking about 6 to 8 months, something like that, aren't we?
Yeah.
And let's tell people right and say, if somebody volunteers,
Yeah.
we haven't got to replace, we've got 6
No.
months.
So standing orders doesn't say we've got to replace them straight away.
No.
No,
September
not six.
now, October, November,
I think the
December,
time is.
February, March,
I think the time is
April.
up now for an
So
election.
Yeah,
that
that's
seems
right.
daft.
It'd be a shame to co-opt somebody and then turn around the next election and have you wait
Yeah, for 6 months you can go without.
Yeah.
That's what I think in standing orders.
Well, that
So
would
I-
take you to April.
We should be looking to co-op something.
I think we should be, definitely, certainly for the Blackford, he was representing Blackford, so.
Yes.
Although it's not a requisite that they have to live in Blackford.
But we ought to
for this
publicise
temporary.
the fact that we need a...
We've already done it.
Already done
It's already
it.
done. There's one in the notice board and there's one at Blackford.
Can you put it in your report in the Wedmore News? as well?
Yeah, but that's always 2 months out of
2
date.
months,
isn't
I
it?
know, but we're talking about 5-6 months hence.
Yeah, well, I'll put it in next week, but it's won't be there
Might
until
somebody out
November.
there. I mean, I've known 1 or 2 people, younger people fortunately, who might be willing to join us, but we better be done at election time in my view.
Do you know anybody in Blackford?
Well,
I can think of some people, but it would be nice for them to
Volunteer.
come
put
forward.
themselves forward as opposed to being approached.
There is a notice in the notice board there.
That's true.
So on the back of that, Nick has kindly stepped back up to the plate and is now temporary chair of planning. With
Ricky's absence, of course.
And then yes,
Oh,
and
there was
with Laura
also
Sampson in as vice as well. So
Right. I see now. I do.
that's fine. Enough.
Yeah.
So yeah, thanks for that, Nick. So we just felt that we'd have someone experienced rather than just putting someone straight into planning. That was my thoughts anyway. So okay,
In the meeting.
just I think we'll. Well, I've sent my thoughts to Alex anyway. But,
I think we've all done it.
yeah, I
Did you
think
say
everyone-
Laura's?
Did you say Laura's been put on?
There's vice. Yeah.
Vice
She
chair.
hasn't got any experience of planning.
Well,
She's going to learn
there's
some.
we're looking into some courses for her, so I've already looked into that. So
She's happy.
if we don't ask people to step up,
Yes.
we're never going to do
There
it.
isn't anybody else.
I think we just
brave, I
give-
think, very much.
Just give, I think we'll give people the opportunity.
Joint chair then.
And she could have said no.
Your chair,
True.
temporary chair.
She didn't. So
No one starts anything off in life with experience.
No.
You gain
So-
experience.
Experience.
and we'll do our best to help her through it as well. So
Yeah.
I just
She needs something.
The blind leading the blind comes to mind.
Scary, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
okay.
Not that safe.
Right, item 10. To consider obtaining large poppies for display on the village lamppost. Is that?
Yes, have you noticed when you go through West Hay and Mere and whatnot?
Yes.
These lovely big poppies. And I thought, well, it'd be so lovely to have them for Wedmore as well. So I've asked the people in West Hay, and they said that it's the person who is in charge of the poppies for that area who gets them. So then Rod has contacted our local person who's
Lives in Cheddar.
And what has she said?
she's going to ring her head office and see that she can get them for us. I said we want probably 20.
Yes, this is a while ago.
I haven't had a chance to go back to her since then.
Well, you give me her
I think I gave you her name and phone number actually.
Well, I'll do it then.
What was it?
Yes.
I'll just check in the morning.
And these are just to be displayed up to the 11th of November this year. The
Oh,
hundreds.
it's,
Yeah.
poppy, during the poppy.
During the poppies.
And then
Sorry,
go on.
can I ask if that's enough to do the Blackford and Field?
If you want them, I will ask
Would
for as
you
many
please,
as you
because
like.
I would like to include
How many would you like me to ask for? How many would you like in Blackford? And how many would you like in Theo?
Field is lamp post less.
Yeah.
Well, have you nowhere on anywhere to put them?
Yeah, you can put them on telegraph poles, shouldn't you?
Yes,
Sign-
telegraph
sign
poles or
post,
anywhere
yeah.
like that.
No one's going to spot them, really, are they?
Yes, they are.
Yes,
Yes, show up like a thing.
Yes, they're beautiful. What's that?
You showed and I nominated it.
Is there? Yeah, that's my next
Well,
question.
they won't tell you, of course. They'll say it's a donation.
It's a
A
donation.
donation, yeah.
But when I suggested that, I think I gave her, I think I was going to give her £20. She thought that was fantastic. So, you know, it is really a donation. Once,
So £20 for 20 or?
yes, I mean, anything. I mean,
Find that amazing.
but you can tell me what you want to give, and the rest will be given.
I think Theo would certainly take
3.
poppies.
Push the boat.
But you've got the
Poppies
church.
around the church, which is where the lamp posts are. So I think that
Yeah,
would
that's
work.
a very good idea, isn't it?
Suppose you can have 6 in Teal. You've got all that by the council houses, if I did say that.
Not a single,
Right.
not a single post there.
The telephone's gone under the ground.
Yeah, no.
It's so peculiar.
I'll put them out at
Just
Blackford.
for the sake of
How many
money.
would
Next
you
one
like
to
to
do them
have?
in the field.
I'll volunteer
Ten,
Adrian to
ten.
put them.
Okay, I'll give you 10
3.
10 for that.
So how many?
do all 3.
How many? So we said, what we saying, 40, 50?
No!
No, you
30
think
maximum, I would have thought.
Yeah.
30.
30 maximum.
And what do we give as a
And who's going to
donation?
put them up in
Well,
Wedmore?
I think we can make a couple of £100 donation, couldn't we?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, we give £50 for the poppy month every year.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, you're right, Rod.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Well, for that we should have two.
Hey,
Well,
come on.
It's 100 years, isn't it? It's not.
It's a monthly
It
celebration.
is relevant years.
Yeah.
Put them on
Yeah.
every gate.
I'll get them.
We might as well have some hats.
Suzanne, so that's in your
Yes,
capable
I'll make
hands,
sure you've
yeah?
got the number. I'm pretty sure you've got the number already, but I will make
I
sure.
will.
If you've got too many, Suzanne, you can
And
put
could you
two.
advise us on the sort of time span that they have to be up, or a date,
No.
or you just start putting them up now?
Before
I
remember.
think you
Yeah,
can.
Obviously.
I think when the poppies come
Yeah, I think
out,
you get that,
then we
yeah.
have them up.
I know.
No, you don't, Susan.
Steve?
Sorry, Neil, while we're on the subject of the 11th of November, there is an ambition in the country to ring the church bells on the 11th, at 11 o'clock. The challenge we've got in Wedmore is we're very short bell ringers. They're either dying or falling in or disappearing. We've got about
Me too.
5 active ringers at the moment, and we've got 8 bells. We're trying to recruit more people to ring the bells. We've got a couple of people we're trying to train at the moment. I just wanted to say, because
Just
most
let
of
them
Wedmore
name
is
it.
watching this on
Yes.
YouTube,
Yeah.
if there's anybody out there who wants to learn how to ring the church bells, please contact me.
Please say, when do you meet?
Well, we always meet on Sunday morning, try to, there's enough of us.
Really?
And then, and on the moment, on Monday evening at 5 o'clock, we
Right.
have a training session. So if anybody wants to learn how to ring the church bells and is willing to come along, we'd be very pleased to see them. They're very friendly, we have a bit of a gossip about what we're
Coffee
and then we
and
ring the
cake?
bells.
Coffee and cake?
Coffee and cake, if you like.
Excellent.
There's that.
Okay.
Oh,
These young people, see that?
I used to ring the bell years ago.
What's up?
I used to ring the bell at Stevens. And he used to ring, yeah. The little bell.
Just ring the bell.
Do we need a proposal, or have we done that?
Well, providing Suzanne can get them
Yeah.
with a short, relatively short time space, isn't it?
What are we talking about? These poppies? It's
Okay.
tomorrow.
Okay, let's move on then.
Sounds like Suzanne.
Item 11,
Poppies.
Sue, is to consider recommendations for hedge and tree cutting at the car park.
Right, I sent out an email down that when you all got it.
Indeed.
with the lovely pictures. The car park is very overgrown.
Yes.
And it, in many places, I mean, I've got some of the pictures here, you know, I mean, this guy, I don't know how he got out of his car, quite honestly.
Parked it there, it didn't grow.
But one of the issues that first got me involved with this is the two properties at Worthington Close. Now, this is very difficult on this to see it, but I'll pass it round. This is a wooden fence that was built.
Yeah.
And right in the distance, you can see a crisscross, which is the sanctuary wire crisscross fence.
Chain link.
In
it's called.
between that is a no man's land. These trees are now, well, they're almost going to hit the electricity wires, but they're causing these people real problems. And we've not touched them because they've said, well, it's not, is it our land or is it sanctuary's land? Well, I went down with Mike Bethel, I met him the weekend before last, and we went down and he remembers that fence being built, remembers all the plants were being put in by Jimmy Gibbs did a lot of the ideas for the planting. And it's all right if it had ever been kept down, but it's grown into trees. This one lady, her whole garden's overshadowed by this one tree. This serious cutting back needs doing, and we need to decide that we're going to adopt this no man's land, which is ours. Mike Bethel was definite that that's our land. Now, I can't say because I wasn't party to it, but he was party to it when they did the car park. And he said it's definitely Parish Council. And it needs sorting.
Okay, so following on from that then.
I spoke to Mike Bethel last week, following your meeting with him down there, and asked what he's going to do. And he did say to me, I'm getting Richard Parsons, who cuts the allotment hedges and did the cemetery hedge down that lane. He was a big contractor. He'll get him in to give us a price for clearing out and sorting out the gardens for the ladies.
And also, there's one of the pictures you might have thought was a bit weird. Why I showed you this is now in the car park is this growth on the all around the edge of the car park.
Just these weeds.
It needs
brushing.
It needs brushing. It needs sweeping up. Last year, Howard and I went down and unblocked all the drains. All the drains last year were covered with this stuff.
Was that not on your list, Ricky?
And
after Sue's finished, there was more.
So that needs doing. And also there was a bit of litter there. There wasn't very much. But you told me in that the Green Group went the Saturday before. There was litter there, but not a huge amount. The Green Group went and picked up 4 sackfuls.
I think that was last year, with respect. They haven't been down there this year and done it.
I thought we saw something recently on that, didn't we?
No. What I sent you was an email. What I sent you was an email from the.
I thought it was a live email.
But the point remains. Still remains.
Because aren't we supposed to be having
Sedgemoor. We pay Sedgemoor to litter pick the car park for us.
Well, they don't do a
Well,
very
I
good
told
job.
them that, and that's the response I sent you is what they said from the supervisor. I was there today, it looks fine, you know.
Oh yes.
And I've gone back to him
Can't you see?
again. I've gone back to him again this morning. He sent another email said, Will Jackson's been in to see me. He says he can't mow it because there's so many bottles and tins there. So they're going to have another look.
Might open their eyes this time.
So
We'd be better off with
I
that.
think what they're doing, they're going in looking at the car park surface and not looking at the verges around the outside. That's where the problem is.
Especially if the grass is a bit longer, maybe.
Why do we have to rely on Sedgemoor's contractor? Can't we deduct the money?
Well, we used to have. We used to have.
Excuse me.
We used to have.
Hang on, I've been asked to speak by Neil.
Sir.
Going back to the hedge that is overgrown, I'm presuming that was planted with hedge-bearing plant and such like. Young farmers are looking for a safe location to hedge lay, if that was an opportunity. They have posed a question to us, but we felt it was unsafe on the roadside. But
Can you lay land it?
It's not all the land, is it?
Oh God,
No,
no, there's
it's,
all
that's what I mean. It's,
sorts.
yeah, it's also it's proper
There's all
tree.
sorts.
Go
Yeah.
for it. If it dies, shame.
But I mean,
Well,
it's for use in the community,
Yeah.
rather than just getting Richard in and hacking its ground level, which
Well,
is
you need to speak to Mike Bethel and
but I mean, if that is the president.
Is that what I said?
Yeah, you need, as long as these ladies, I can tell these two ladies that something is going to be done about it.
What sort of timescale are we looking
There'll be
at?
this coming now, this is before the show and tell, because Clive wants to do it.
Right.
Yeah, but
So,
They're not going to
so
do trees.
where are you going to lay a hedge then?
well, because obviously it's growing in a it's growing as a hedge at the present, isn't it? Is that?
Yeah, but
Just get down there. and
you
have a
need to go and have a
I
look
think you need to
Yeah.
on the ground.
No, it's on
Don't
The
think it's straightforward,
pictures,
mate.
the pictures,
They're deceiving.
the pictures,
Yeah.
you want to go and have a look at it.
Ah,
It's dimensional,
Okay. Yeah.
you know,
It's
there's lots of depth in it.
Can be made to work.
After the install.
Yeah, but-
But in the interim, we were getting a cost from
I think you need
to do the other
Yeah.
areas anyway, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just about contracting, Sue was right about getting. I mean, we've got Will.
Yeah, Will's a bit limited. and
No,
he's
no,
got
so
a
I'm
lot
saying,
of
no, I'm
work.
not saying, I'm sorry, I'm not, it's nothing, I'm saying generally, we've had Will for a long time now. There's a lot of work and he always seems to be very limited. Is there any option to maybe have to look elsewhere?
Yeah.
I think it's been long enough now, I mean, it's been, if no one ever has been contacted since I've been, or there's been no change since I've been.
He's employed to cut the grass at the cemetery, the play areas, the car park.
Yeah, but what I'm
And
saying
he
is,
does that 2 or 3 times a month, which you can see we painted the bill today.
yeah, but what I'm saying is there's been no, we have to go 3 quotes on everything.
Well, he's been, sorry.
Well,
Can I say, the last time we advertised for anything, we had nobody interested whatsoever.
no.
No, but you can't do that last time. Yeah,
Yeah, things might have changed.
it could be, I mean,
You can always
I think that when
send it out there.
we had our sort of, we presented Will with a list of
List,
things
yeah.
that he had to do,
Yeah.
and,
The cemetery.
you know,
Yeah.
at the cemetery, and I think that was going to be, you know, how it got on and what was happening was going to be reviewed in a year's time, and so that must be in about 6 months' time. So basically, as regards the cemetery, he has got a contract
Yeah,
for about the next 6 months.
yeah.
Which would take us up to next May.
Yes.
wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's review
do
it.
we pose it in next May, we'd go, I just believe there should be some
Yeah, you should advertise.
very,
Yeah, let's review it then.
Could make a note of that we review it.
But you need to draw up a list of job entails.
Yeah.
The areas,
yeah, it does need to be, it's a pain of a job, but
Yes, it is, yeah.
we should also know what we're getting done.
Well,
How much you
I
done?
suspect we do know what we're getting done. I get an item on his bill every month from
Yeah,
him.
no,
And it tells me how many times he's cut the car park, how many times he's cut the cemetery. You know, it's all listed on there, it's all so much per hour. You know, and his hourly rates haven't changed since I've been here, and that's only 6 years. So we don't pay him a massive amount per
No.
no, for what he
You know,
does,
for what he does,
yeah,
really.
that's right. Next, sorry.
Polly, you actually did contact Macaulay Miller.
Oh yeah, he did.
Yeah, no, I know, but yeah, the point is that we have contacted other people, and so, and there are maybe more. I'm just thinking.
I'm just thinking, not necessarily worrying about, I think we need to also look at having, this is what's got to be done, it's going to be done here and there, and that's what's, because there has been complaints, I mean, the cemetery is a prime example, there's bits at the playing fields.
We also have a schedule of works.
Yeah,
and
and it's as much as our
specification.
responsibility as it is anyone else, whoever the contractor may be for this going on as it is. I'm not saying Will doesn't itemise what he does and does what he does do, but on the flip side,
Well, I think he has done great service to us, to
We
be
did-
fair,
we
because he
did
has
give him-
attended, when you
he
rung him,
has
he's
got
had
a
to be
schedule
out
of
and
work.
cleared the brook,
For the
and
cemetery.
he's, you know, he's done.
Yeah.
yeah, not disputing
So it's
that,
clear
but
graffiti off the signs, that's not his job.
No.
But we pay highways to do it, they come out, they've chosen.
If it gets done.
Oh, yeah, if it gets done.
I tell you what, if you
But
were
it's
to,
limited one,
if you were to
he's
do what
not an
Ricky's
agricultural
suggesting,
contractor.
if you were to do what Ricky's suggesting and produce a job
Schedule.
of work, a schedule of work, I think Macaulay would jump at it. And he may not do it all, So it could be shared between
Yeah.
us. What we did suggest some time ago.
Yeah.
That we were, yeah, so.
But we produced
We
one for the cemetery.
produced
Yes.
one for the cemetery.
Yes.
But he
So-
does more than that, doesn't he? There's loads of things around.
Yes, but he hasn't got enough time, you just said to me
I think he's
earlier.
pushed, I think he's
So
pushed.
perhaps we need somebody else as well.
I think you're not wrong.
Well,
Yeah, and I know Macaulay does work at Theo Cemetery. So, yeah, there's a over and above. It is
And I think what you've got to consider is that you may not got one person that will have the skill set to do all those different things.
Yeah.
That it might not be matched by, Will does a wonderful job, but a skill set is a
It's
certain,
not a criticism.
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, he's
Yeah.
admitted, he said that the car park, he said it's way above my grade. You know, he's like, I said, we'll get Richard, what's it? He's put the price in. He said, great, you know, because I wouldn't even look at that. You'll cut the grass and that sort of thing.
So, yeah,
well, I'd appreciate his honesty really, rather than trying to take it on and then let us down. So, okay, I will review it in May.
Well, then the contract run out in May.
No.
yeah, I was going to say.
That's what I said, that's what the cemetery is scheduled.
But that's too late, isn't it? Because the current contract run out, so we'll be desperate to get somebody else.
Yeah, but you're advertised in January for.
January, yeah.
Yeah.
That's good.
Let's try and put a target in January.
Okay, do you want to give him the heads up then?
I can do, yes,
Yeah.
I can.
Okay.
What are you going to do?
I'm going to give Macaulay Millard an option. Well,
A chance to...
yes.
Well, no, we're not.
Oh, no, I'm going to say,
no,
to
we're
bid
not offering him.
effectively.
Well,
bid.
he's got to come.
Got a
With a
tender.
bid.
He's got to come to us. If he
Well,
wants to
the
work,
yes.
we're not
Yes,
just going
yes.
to give it to him.
No,
No, he's got
So-
a bid, he's got a bid.
Yeah.
We need to set down, first of all, what we're
What schedule, what we need
Yeah.
to do.
So it's a level playing field for everybody.
Yeah.
I think so.
I'm not standing up for it, but I think he's been quite a good servant.
He has,
Yeah,
he
I
has.
think you know.
He has.
He's living away with Abington, he's got a pregnant girlfriend, and he's just bought a house, and I think he needs all the work he can get at the moment.
Definitely, yeah, I'm fully supportive of that. Fully supportive of that. And he's from the village.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's local work.
Yeah.
And wants to come back into the village.
Exactly. Thank you. Item 12. To consider traffic calming measures for Coombatch Point.
I think we have, haven't we? We're talking about this.
Yes.
We know it's got to happen
Uh-huh.
because we know, well, it's,
Press on.
press on, Steve.
Yeah.
It's all linked, isn't it?
Okay, we've already done item 13, so 14, to consider making a grant to Theo Flower Show.
Yeah, for the last 2 years, Chairman, we've made a grant.
Haven't we done it already?
13?
No, we agreed to do it.
We agreed to
No.
do it, we couldn't do it because it was item got extra on the agenda.
What was that?
For Theo
Theo
Flower
Flower
Show,
Show.
yeah.
Yeah, Steve.
Oh,
Nick
Yeah,
mentioned-
we just like.
We gave him £150 last year.
Well, I
I
suggest we
propose
give it
that,
to him.
yes.
Go a proposal, please.
Yes.
Thank you. Show of hands.
I've already got the bank details from Phil Butler, so I can do that tomorrow, right?
Cheers, mate.
Right, item 15, to note the report of the external auditor of accounts.
Yes, just to say that the accounts were submitted to, I can't remember the name now, in order this year. They've come back, they are in order, everything's balanced, and we've got a clean bill of health, and we've paid their bill.
Excellent. Well done, Rob.
Yeah, well done. Yes.
Item 16, to receive an update from the Neighbourhood Plan Committee and consider any proposals.
The closing date for the Regulation 14 consultations passed now. We
Yeah.
did have loads of responses at the last minute from some very major organisations like English Heritage, the drainage organisation,
Drainage
Drainage board.
Drainage board, the drainage board,
Yeah.
Sedmore district. So we've taken all those into account, and we're now redrafting the plan.
Is it significant?
Which should be, no, nothing major, tweaked really. We've had to add a lot more information. We had to spend quite a lot of money on getting a consultant in, because English Heritage says you've not done enough work looking at the heritage impact of any site that you proposed. So we've had a consultant in, and she's come in and she's done a hell of a lot of work, and there's quite a thing. You've never seen a copy of it, I'm not sure.
No.
Actually, it's something we should keep.
Oh, yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, it's a very good document about the heritage
So
of
we've
the
had
village.
to add a load of that in, and they come back to the on a little bit more on this and that. Anyway, it's been tweaked and revamped, so it's got to go to Sedgemore in October is our plan. Sedgemore will then look at it and say, well, yes, it looks good, the way it's been done is okay, but there's a load of supporting stuff, like how we've done the consultations, blah, 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 who we've consulted with, over what timescale, etc., etc. And then they send it off to the inspector, which is a national.
Yeah.
He looks at it and hopefully he's going to turn around and say, ask one or two simple questions with a bit of luck. And then send it back to stage one and say, yes, that's okay, put it out to referendum. So along with the council elections next year, it will be one of the things on the voting thing. Do you want this or not? So people can vote on it. And if they say no, we waste our time.
Now, beyond the... Cannot be, surely.
Well, there'd be a separate ballot paper.
Sure.
Well, it'd probably be a separate paper.
Separate ballot. They're not the same.
Misunderstood you, mate.
It will reduce the cost to
Yeah.
to
At the same time.
Cheddar, it's £8,000.
In parallel with
because they
that,
had to do a whole referendum for cheddar
It's 8,000.
out of sync, so
Yeah.
it costs
It's
a lot of money.
Eight.
so in parallel with
So
that,
that's why we
you may recall at our last meeting, I spoke about community land trust and the potential for that. I think we all thought it was a good idea. Rod kindly sent off the application form for the stage one funding. Stage one is a consultant for a day to come and help scope it, set it up, tell us what you've got to do, blah, blah, blah. We got that money and I've provisionally booked a half day, so we can have 2 half days rather than 1 full day. The first half day will be on the 29th of September in the afternoon. Possibly, Rod, if it's available, we're here in this room.
If you email the dates, Steve.
Yeah, it just depends on how many people. At the moment, I've got about 7 or 8 people who are quite keen to get involved. I'm hoping there's going to be 1 or 2 of the Parish Council available.
I haven't received any money, by the way, from this.
No, what happens is this guy told me, they sent me the names of people we could use.
Oh, I see.
And then they said, what happens is you contact them,
Yeah.
they tell us what they've done for us,
They've
and then
done
they
that.
come back to us and validate it, and we
Okay.
say yes, and then they pay him.
Right.
So we don't have to deal with money
Okay.
at all.
Right.
In a nutshell, we're going to go through the stage 1 process in the end of the month, which is basically, as I see it, it's setting up a project team really, Neil, to move the thing forward. There's various other things we can register in the meanwhile, which I was holding back on until the end of this month, whereby we can start the ball rolling on setting up a legal body, if you like a limited company, which you have to transfer into the trust. But it enables you to start talking about money.
Yeah.
Because obviously strong blocks, we've got to get moving. If they're going to start building homes, they're going to be talking to a housing association. Well, we'd rather them talk to our land trust.
Yeah.
We'll be in a position where we can talk to them. you know.
Yeah.
So we're chasing our tails a bit. That's it really. I can't put any more than that really.
Okay.
If anybody wants any information, I've got stuff I can
brilliant.
send on email and so on.
That's good. Really, really good.
Do you want to know now if there's anybody on the...
Well, I've got names.
Council.
I
On the council, you said you
Well,
wanted...
I'm going to go
Sue's
to
going.
the meeting.
and
enough?
I'll be there. But I mean, we don't want to kill it. I mean, that's 7 or 8 people at the end of the day. It's a project team of enough if we've got 1 or 2 people on the
Sorry.
parish council.
Yeah.
And as long as the parish council is shadowing it.
I think if Alex is interested as well.
I think we're covered. I've got about 4 or 5 people who have just come out of the woodwork, you know, when we were talking about it.
So you anything to add? I just go on again. The amount of work gone into the neighbourhood plan is phenomenal. It really is.
Well, Bob Silver,
And
I must
Bob
say,
really needs to.
at the end of the day, he needs a vote of thanks from us.
And we'll certainly get that, but we'll look at something in the new year,
Yeah.
and that's for another time. But
I mean, the amount of resources,
well, as a whole,
with the amount of resources he's put into it, himself and bearing in mind his
Exactly.
business, you know,
Yeah.
and other people as well.
Yes.
Paul, the architect, Hugh, the
Dave Nichols,
you know, we were so lucky with the resources we've got in
Exactly,
the
yeah,
community.
yeah.
It's been
fabulous
Yeah.
group of
Yeah.
people.
excellent. Okay, item 17. Any issues and questions raised by councillors?
Not too much.
Yes. George,
Okay.
yes. We simply cannot let it go on.
It's dreadful.
We are looking foolish.
Well, I don't know. I've
I know
certainly
you have.
tried to contact Gordon, and
Yeah.
as well as Rod.
So what are we going to do about it if he isn't going to answer us?
Well, it is being dealt with by
It's nothing for us to deal with.
No.
We can't fix a drain. The environmental health officer has issued an enforcement notice against BT and against the owners of the George. That's it. That's end of story. It's down to the enforcement officer at the EHO. You know,
No,
and she's made a decision to keep deferring it. Sorry, Susan, I greatest respect. There's nothing we can do as a parish council. And I'm telling everybody who writes to me and rings me daily that the EHO at Bridgewater is dealing with it, and they're so we send their comments to her. I can do no more than that. We can't magically
But this
get
has
rid
been
of that.
going on for well over a year.
It is over a year. Yeah, Ron, but what do you suggest we do, sir?
Well, I feel sorry for the poor people who work opposite.
Yes,
Because
I'm
the smell.
skinny. It's a disgrace to the village.
It's awful.
You're not wrong.
Well,
And I
maybe,
just feel
maybe
that
we should.
as we're the parish council,
Yeah.
they come to us.
There's appropriate avenues to go down to get this addressed, and that's happened. So,
Yes, but it's not happening.
well, it's got to the stage where it has happened, and that's where we are. So it's been enforced, and now it keeps getting deferred. So we have no other avenue for us as a parish council to go down to get it sorted.
I sent you the latest information which Nicola Gardner sent out 10 days ago.
Yes.
That when she was writing
I
something
know,
else. I sent you that. Well, you know, I mean, why don't you email her and tell her?
There's a thought.
Yes.
You know, sign it, Councillor Suzanne Metters, or what, you know, what's being done about this? Because it's down to her, I'm afraid. We've got no power over that.
If there is that amount of feeling, why not encourage these people to write directly?
Exactly.
That's what I've
Well, I
been doing.
have told them
Let's
to.
get it in the paper.
You've got the same problem we got.
Yes.
Get it in the paper.
Yes,
Yeah, that's a thought.
it is a
Why
thought.
not?
Yes.
We've
Tell
done
her
it.
from the editor.
Yes, I think that's
So,
a fair comment to them. I really do.
so going back, I feel that, well, I've certainly tried
Yeah.
associated parties. Rod has, and we're at, a point of we've exhausted what we can do.
I know.
I mean, there is a letter, somebody did write into the Wedmore News, and we did put in a reply to say, just what you've said, that it's absolutely nothing to do with the parish council. It's moving on to environmental health. So, in the next edition of the Wedmore News,
It's 21st century
there is a
bureaucracy.
letter and there is a reply to
It's
say...
21st century bureaucracy. If you just...
She's frightened of enforcing the enforcement notice because it'll cost them a lot of money to take them to court. BT. That's what.
Because they've got
I'm sure
bigger...
that's what's behind it.
bigger,
She's trying to
stronger.
just get them to play it along, and eventually it'll get done.
And it's not clear whose fault it is.
I mean, she's going to serve a summons on them, which
Yeah,
they should be doing.
where's the money?
Yes, but then we had two lots of people working on it last week.
Yeah.
And what did they say at the end of it?
I didn't get any feedback.
Unless you're there and you ask them.
Yes, sadly, I mean, I thought, well, I'll go down, but I had something else to do, and by the time I went down, it'd gone.
They've gone, yeah.
And I said to them, please, will you let us know what it is that you are doing, so that we know.
There's material been left there as well, hasn't there?
Oh, Susan, and now it's been all
yeah,
been pushed down, and on the, thrown down, it looks
It
terrible.
does indeed.
It just makes...
Photographs?
Well, I think we should all.
Photographs?
Yeah, take
Put it around
photographs,
his
put it in the papers.
That's what you've got to do.
It's just embarrassing into getting it done.
Yeah.
I think we should.
Has anybody got any?
I've got a contact with the chair of my
Okay.
Wow.
Could you do that then?
Yeah.
Whoa.
These are to make the placards.
We need placards. The parish council needs to have its placards saying, we are ashamed of this.
Neil will fund it, look.
Lots of gas masks.
Everyone needs to be funded by the black people.
Right, okay. Any other questions or issues? Nick, please.
Trivial, honestly, mate. Yeah, Route 67 meeting, 26th. Sorry about this, guys. I can't make it. I'm going to be gone by then. So, could somebody else go to the Route 67 meeting, which is here
On the 26th.
on the 26th? And I
11:30.
believe it starts at
And
11:30.
finishes at 12:30.
Yeah,
So
if it lasts that long.
What's the 26th? What
Yeah,
day?
Wednesday.
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 Next Wednesday.
Today,
Yeah,
week.
I can go.
When you?
It's not arduous. Literally turn up, listen.
Listen, right. I've done some notes.
Just turn up and
26.
listen.
11:30 to 12:30, you said.
11:30
There's
to...
nice people, they'll all turn up, they'll introduce themselves.
You can still do Pilates.
With a bit of luck, they'll tell you how well the Route 67 funding is going and whether or not they've been able to extend it. The idea is they're going to extend it further into Wells, and we'll find out whether or not it's going to. It's going to have an influence on the. Anyway, it doesn't influence us because we're in the middle.
Okay.
Did I report to you the sign at the bottom, Snake's Lane? You know, we got it put in not that long ago. It's now been nicked.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're joking?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm joking.
But what is it?
The
Snake's Lane in Thiel.
Got the road
The
side.
road sign, we only got it put in 6 months ago.
Well, someone's house wall.
No, it wasn't
No,
in the
no, no.
moorland, it was in the grass.
Grass.
Yeah. It's outside Jim Shepherd's house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh. It's not been knocked over, is it?
No, because he went out there and he said, why is there 2 holes in my grass? There's no
It's
sign
not
there.
even his grass. It's the neighbours. Anyway.
Oh, but yeah, no, it
You're
was
joking.
Yeah, no, honestly.
Outrage.
Now there was a place for the poppy.
More.
Yeah. Where was this?
Oh, but there isn't anymore, is there?
Unbelievable.
Anyone
I'll
else?
ring it through.
Yeah, no, you
Oh, right,
do one.
yeah.
Anyone else? Any questions? Sue?
Yes, I had a phone call from Fiona Torrance Spence from the Allerton Parish Council. The Washbrook Bridge has
That's
been
right.
hit again, apparently, and she said it's wobbly. So she was going on holiday and she took a long time to tell me it was wobbly. And also the fact that the hedging on our side
Yeah.
needs cutting down,
This was mentioned.
and it hasn't been cut down, and they now know that the person who owned the land is Richard Nichols.
But ain't gonna get cut down then, is it?
You are a
I did that, when I received the
which
report, I
is
did ask,
exactly what I
Peter,
thought,
have
as
a
soon
look
as
at
I heard it.
and he went out and he said he couldn't find out who owned the hedge.
Well, they found out and they say it's Richard Nichols.
Okay.
So who wants to ask Richard Nichols to cut the hedge?
That was it.
Shall I?
Tell you what, I'll phone him.
I thought they said that.
Well, yeah.
So I've had a couple of things on highways this morning. I sent to an email saying that the signs on both sides are now clear,
Well,
and just the white line needs the slow sign on the road.
yeah, the slow sign needs doing. They're not really clear, no.
Well, that's what they said in
It
their
does,
email.
yeah, well, it's like the car park, isn't it?
Claire, if you've got the...
You know, they said the car park was fine.
They were blindfolded at the time.
They also said that all the roads get
We
broken.
drove past it about
I'll ring it, I'll
30
speak
I
to
want
him.
to just get the signs so we can see the signs, the road narrow signs there.
Yeah.
So the visibility. That's
Well,
not
they,
the hedge cut back.
well, they did come up with a reasonable suggestion, but people might not like it. She did say it was wobbly. Well, I went up there today and I gave it a really good kicking and it isn't wobbly.
It isn't.
It is not wobbly. I'll tell you what,
You'll get accused of stealing road signs.
there's not a wobble anywhere.
Can I say?
Well,
when
just a minute, let me just finish with what she suggested. Was that when it's all cut back, that they paint the top parapets of the bridge white.
Well, that's a bit severe, isn't it?
There you see, Tom, that's controversial.
Heritage.
Yeah.
It's straight cost stone, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's under a metre high probably, so it doesn't, it's a permitted development.
All she wants to do is write to the highways themselves. When we had trouble down Cock Lake with our 2 bridges, we brought it up here, we chased them, we got nothing done. So I went back down to tell Delcy Hooper and the one down on the river, down by the Axe, to write to the county and within a fortnight they were there and done.
She said she's written already and nobody's replied to her. That's what she.
So that's what they did. I mean, they came and I went down and told them, I said, we've been writing and get nothing done.
Yeah.
You write individuals, write to these civil servants, you get things done. They don't take no notice of us, that's the problem.
Right, so you want the people, well, she is the,
Well,
she's the leader of the council, so it'd probably be better if what you're saying is...
She's already written the paragraph.
Yeah.
But
You know, you've got to get some but I was one in the house on the right-hand side.
Her clerk wrote to me and said that they've already contacted the Highways Department and they haven't had a reply.
Right, no. Well, they haven't got them to start and
So,
Well, it's our boundary.
and I contacted the Highways.
We're
as well.
alongside.
Okay.
And it's our side that...
Yes, that's right.
So they have the signs
But
here.
you just tested it, so it's not a problem.
It's
Just
not
right
what-
back and say bugger off.
It's not a problem.
You should have had your clippers with you.
No, it's when somebody hits the capping stone off and it goes...
Yeah,
in.
they have hit it.
Yeah.
You
That's
can
when the
see
trouble
where it's
starts.
been hit.
We've got a bridge work. I know the bridge work.
Are we, as a parish council, not responsible to see that the state of the village is kept in good order? Is that not one of our criteria?
I would have thought.
Because this, I keep mentioning this Glanville Road by the old vicarage. It is a disgrace. I will go and clear it, but I just don't think it's
Well,
my
that's
place. I mean, I
what-
clear outside my house, but I think that they should be asked to clear outside their house. Don't you think it's...
Yeah, well, that's why I've been bringing that for months.
Their responsibility. Because the road sweeper, I spoke to him and he said he cannot do it because his lorry cannot get into the wall because of the trees. So I just think that something should be done. Not only that, I mean, I noticed it particularly in Glanville Road because I walk there so much. And it's on the corner by the old vicarage, but it's also up on the corner by the wall.
That's right.
You know, the leaves are never...
Yeah, all the way round. All the way round.
So what do we do? Do we ask the council if they can do it, or do we perhaps say in the Wedmore News, is it possible for you to consider brushing outside your house to make sure that we keep the village in good order? And, you know, I just think something should be done.
Where do you start?
Don't stop anywhere.
Well, we'll be telling people to paint their front doors a specific
No,
colour
I don't
next.
think so.
You
No,
know,
I don't think so.
but it's up to them, isn't it? But you've got to get to a point where you shame people into actually doing it.
George.
You know, it's we all like live here for a reason.
brush day.
Yeah, well, you know, the green group or whatever meets up every
Wedmore
6 months.
do a
don't they?
great job with areas.
They
of
do.
the-
They do. They do.
They do.
It's difficult, some people just don't
Yeah,
know.
and going back to there was a suggestion about getting the scouts into
Yeah,
wash all the street signs, and that brought its own
Oh,
set of problems with trying to get the scouts on the highway to do
That's
that, you know,
right.
and it does, and it just creates.
Have they come back and said that?
No, but
Is it because he said, when I saw him the last time, he said, oh, I haven't forgotten your idea.
I just wonder who was going to take the liability on of the kids on the roads. But anyway,
Getting back to the particular issue about Glanville Road, Suzanne, alongside that wall, no way are the people who rent that house out and the old vicarage going to come and sweep that road. They're not going to do it. They're going to say it's not my responsibility, it's a road. And they're somebody's out in the right. So I think it's up to us to get on the Sedgemoor and say, it's not our fault your machine. Get a man down there with a...
exactly, Steve. No, we'll try the council first, and we'll go from there.
That point, would you raise it?
Thank you.
With Sedgemoor, that
Well,
they
they're supposed
do
to
something
keep
about
Sedgemoor
cleaning the
tidy.
edge of roads where there's a high wall, because the machine doesn't...
Well, I know the road sweeper. I see the road sweeper out, and I see the bins getting
Is that
emptied early in the
possible?
morning. So you know, it's not that it's not getting swept.
It's just worth pointing out, some areas of the
You used to
road-
have many years ago a guy
Yeah,
walking the streets as well as
They
the
drive around with the
as well as
machine.
the lorry. So
We lift up the
and
edge
times
of
have
pavement
changed.
as we build again.
Not round here.
probably his boot allowance wasn't up to it. Maybe I don't know.
Okay,
Anyway,
so Holly's-
moving on.
Holly's going to see if she can raise it with some...
Item
Thank you. Thank you, Connie.
Oh, whatever, Holly.
Correspondence.
item 18, correspondence.
Yeah, there's not very much on the list there, Chairman. Major important, I think. No, there's not.
No,
But yeah,
there wasn't.
I was going to say yes, there is.
no, forget it. Forget it.
There's nothing on the crime report.
What was the outcome of the Canberra investigation? Do we know?
That was we brought up the planning meeting. We had no comments to make on it.
No, what, it says it's outcome. There was a report, sorry.
Oh, there's nothing went to the report on it.
I forget it.
Yeah.
It's 2 pages. of it.
Yeah.
Village agent scheme wins all three awards.
They were discussing whether the different matters should be altered. They asked for our views and we said we don't know.
So the parish
Okay. Item 19, we'll move on to the committee reports. The cemetery.
Yeah, I went out there today and it's looking quite good. I don't think it's worth getting an autumn sort of spring clean because it's looking quite good out now. But I will go and do a few little bits because I don't think Will can do it all, but I'll go and have a morning out there.
Well, I'll come with you, because funnily enough, I went down today.
Yeah, it does look alright, doesn't it? Looks quite good. Yeah, we did have a van down there, just kindly phoned me one evening to tell me there was a white van down there, so...
Went down on Saturday morning and
down
cleared
and
it
had a
out.
look. Yeah.
It was parking in on the car park.
Camper van.
Yeah.
Nice up chap.
What a place to park in town.
I think he'd been there 2 days,
Yeah.
and I happened to come back on a Thursday night, and I rang Dennis and said, I think he's parking down there again.
He was out on the lane by Saturday morning having his egg and bacon.
Offer you any?
No, you haven't. I said, I've got a big funeral at 9:30, which will block the lane up entirely. I suggest you be gone by then. He said, oh, I'm on my way.
Anyway, so Sue and I will go down
Excellent.
and have a little time.
Thank you. Facilities, allotments and footpaths. No. Finance and general purposes.
No.
Housing. Well, we were due that
Presentation.
tonight. Didn't happen. Anything to add, Polly?
No,
We
No.
heard, no?
not currently, but
No.
we were talking about having a meeting, weren't we?
We're just waiting for Cross Farm to come, Acorn to come back regarding the public open space proposals and stuff. So we will call a housing meeting following that info coming through. So, sorry. Okay.
Chairman, so
Sorry.
can I apologise, I really need to leave because I've got a babysitter and I have to relieve her.
No worries.
Sorry.
No problem.
Thank you.
Cheers, Polly.
Thank you. Highways, car park and Brook.
I'll try and be quick. On the brook front first then,
Yeah.
can we do it, can we set a date?
Yeah,
next
that's a really
week,
good
the
idea.
end of the
So I didn't hear what you
month.
said.
Walk the brook.
Oh yeah, end of the month.
What date?
It'll be Saturday or Sunday. Which is
Saturday or
best for
Sunday
me.
best for you? So,
The 29th is your meeting
yeah,
here.
can't do that. What about the 30th, Sunday?
Yeah.
Morning or afternoon, Neil?
Morning would be better.
This month. Back from church.
This month.
Back from church, by then.
I certainly hope so.
With bell ringing, will it?
Well, I will.
Yeah, you could go.
Way back.
Yeah. So what time do you suggest? 11 o'clock, 10:30?
Let's go for 10:30.
10:30. I think it'll be-
11?
11 would be better for me.
11 then?
And where will you meet?
Where are you meeting?
Where shall we meet? Down in the lower bend, shall we? Start
Next to
at
the car park. We can all park in the car park.
Yeah.
Yeah, Brook, okay. 11 o'clock. We'll all meet at 11 o'clock in the lower bend, bottom of the lower bend.
MRI scan next week.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Neil. Well, a quick one on there on highways, just to let you know, the traffic engineer that David keeps me in touch with, Catherine Tyson, she has been away on sickness and everything. Anyway, it was quite interesting sitting chatting to her over a cup of coffee, first of all, just to find out why things don't get done. And she's in fear of losing her job, basically. She said, well, they're just not replacing people, the finance.
Can cause a bit of an issue. And obviously, the time of going to press, when the letter was submitted, you know, we did then go have Strongbox back and addressed some of the issues that she'd already highlighted, and also, you know, the
But I
residents.
think that the people
But I
need
will.
to know we
Well,
are.
and I will, and I was actually going to invite her to the next meeting, so if she wanted to come and speak to the Parish Council as a whole,
That's good.
I would welcome that, or I'll go and meet with her. I'd rather go and meet with people rather than just doing an email
Yeah, right now.
chain, because I don't think you always get the right message across in an email. So that is on my agenda to do, and I will speak with her over the next week. Alright, and then I'll let everyone know the response. Okay, play areas.
Can I ask, Rob, do we have, each play area, do we have a record of who's inspected them and said when they're every week? Because you're going to have to do that legally.
I've got notices that Will Jackson, when he cuts the grass, sends me a notice back in.
Every week it's going to be signed,
Well, yeah,
because otherwise you will not be covered with your insurance.
yeah.
And I suggest if we're having a new play area, you go out to Woolhampton.
Yeah.
There's a beautiful one out there. The village, I mean, Woolhampton is not the best village to look after things, but it's been there nearly 2 years and there's not a mark on it. Because the youngsters helped build it and design it. And it's a lovely play area. Anybody wants to have ideas of our new play area? It's for all ages and it's lovely.
Good idea, get involved.
We certainly had issues up at the playing fields with antisocial behaviour.
Yeah.
We did ask the police to
Yeah,
go in there more often because there was teenagers.
yeah, I know you have, I know.
And we've had some cases of vandalism there as well. So it's just unfortunate people don't appreciate
What's going on?
what people
No, from what they've done.
people
But
do.
they did find that because I mean they'd had their Woolhampton damaged several times.
Yeah.
So they went to the youngsters and said, come on, you tell us what you want. And they got grants from everybody to do it.
Yes.
You know, so I just thought you ought to.
Yeah, I didn't realise it was weekly. I must confess,
I think we're supposed to.
It is.
Yes.
I think I'll get monthly ones. I think you'd have to show diligence really. I get
I
monthly
go
ones
up,
Yeah.
up there.
with a
I certainly
date.
don't go up every week, but I do go
That's
up
what they
there.
want it. They
Yeah,
want
well,
it.
fortunately, it seems quite lucky that we've got one of the committee
Yeah.
members is actually health and safety secretary.
That's what I mean.
And she sort of just dropped down there. It's not on a regular basis. She didn't write a report, and we certainly don't.
You just got a ticket and say you've
Yeah.
inspected. That's
You
what
used to have to
you've
do
got
it and still have to spend it every week.
Yeah, you've got to. Yeah.
I get to do it once a month, and I think that's adequate really.
Generally though, I
So
think all
just
the things
keep
we've got is all
the-
work together, isn't it?
Yeah.
I know Wedmore certainly is, but everything is generally
Well, that's a good
Yeah, I
point.
mean,
in good
we
order,
that's-
isn't
we
it?
haven't had
Alex
Alex
doesn't.
Done something like a swing with chain that's missing.
Yeah.
So
okay. Well, we'll be mindful of that.
That's a fair point that Sue's just risen. Because Alex was our link for play area, we're going to just have to think how we have a correspondent. And I'm sorry, I'm not going to put my thoughts
No, I'm not
forward.
sure.
No.
I think there's a can of worms out there at the moment, isn't it?
Well, it's not that, it's just other things that
Yeah.
I've committed
Yeah.
myself
Well, I don't
to.
even think we've got a chairman at the moment.
No.
I think Blackburn is just falling by the wayside. There's no small. I've got all the paperwork and everything that was handed to me by one of the committee members. Just brought it
Are
in
you
and
talking
said,
play area?
Yeah,
Play
play
area.
area.
Play
Play
area. I
area.
don't know, I'm afraid I'm not very close
Yeah,
to it.
since Kelly Thorne, was it Kelly?
She's stood down.
Pete, would you Dan?
Yeah, quite possibly, but I couldn't speak for it, but quite possibly, yeah.
When was the
Better not spend too long on the swings then.
It was the village hall. Nothing to do with
Dad,
that.
I thought you were going to say secretary and
Separate
talk.
organisation.
Do you want to just put something in the Wedmore News?
I have done.
Oh yeah, that's sorry, I didn't. Yeah.
It's about
Yeah.
2
Very
months back.
difficult. It's very difficult.
Yeah, I
And
know.
they said in there, nobody comes on the
Actually,
committee.
Especially in the current
What
situation.
do they
with
have
car
to do for the play
park.
area?
Good.
Well, you've got to have a committee, a proper committee out there running it.
Yeah, otherwise we got to take responsibility of it.
It's going to end up being closed down otherwise if they don't use it.
And keep it tight, because I think some of the trees want
Sorting
sorting
out.
out.
Yeah, it's looking a bit. Yeah. it is
Yes,
now,
I
yeah.
think it does, but whenever I go out, I like to ride it twice or 3 times a week.
It's not a 5-minute job.
It's just an annual meeting?
No.
No.
No, it's a bit. It's a little bit more involved, Sue. It's a little bit more involved.
Find out from Alex, we need to find out.
Somebody's got some money. I mean, there's a treasurer somewhere knocking around in Blackford who's got the chequebook and all the accounts. Goodness knows who that is.
I could probably find out.
That
I'm
needs
not
to.
very
That
close
needs to.
it.
That needs to be found out.
Yeah.
What do you mean on the village hall?
No.
No,
Player.
for the
Totally
play area,
separate. Totally separate.
which is separate.
And thank you, Lou's volunteered to go on the Blackford Educational Trust as well,
Yes, I saw that.
which is one meeting.
Yeah.
And Lou, can I give your email address to
Yeah.
him? Is that an official business one? But
Yeah,
you
no,
know.
that's fine.
Okay.
All right. So,
Nothing from SART, no, from that.
playing fields management.
There's a meeting this week, I think I saw something, but Laura's not here.
Yeah. Okay.
She won't be going for certain.
No.
But she's in communication, so she probably give her apologies.
Village halls.
Nothing really. I mean, we are looking into all sorts of improvements in the village hall.
Well, don't look at me, mate, but Erin's not here, so I think not.
No.
Can I say that I think we ought to write a letter to the organisers of the beer festival? I mean, I think we were by several times during the day, every day. They were so well behaved, nobody was in the road, no misbehaving at all. And on Sunday, it was all cleared up, they were around picking up any bit of paper and everything. And I think they should be thanked, all back nice and
Well,
tidy.
I can add to that because when Tuesday Club,
Yeah.
every toilet bar 2 was blocked.
Oh, was it? Oh, wow. I haven't been
The old
there.
people couldn't get in and out because the marquee was still there.
No, that's right.
And the bollards was.
And the bollards
Well, I think they should be left there. I would really recommend it as well.
I'm not sure I do want to give them a slap on the back rather than a slap on the face. So,
Yeah, but
yes.
surely some of that is the village hall should check those things if they're as
Oh,
well.
Yes, but
Well, they're operational before they start, so-
They had it. It was their responsibility.
Yeah, but I don't,
They had-
I don't
they
think
had
it's
a
the
plumber
responsibility
there.
of the village hall to ensure that it's in fair shape for the next customer, I
Yeah.
believe.
Yeah.
Well, it was.
But obviously then there's a case
No,
of,
it
you know, you
was.
leave it as you find it.
Yeah,
I just
There
thought
should
they
be
were doing
someone
a good
from-
job.
there should be someone from the village hall to check.
Excuse me, I was there, I was in charge.
Sue, just
No. By the time, by the time Sue arrived, because I hadn't been able to get Neil Tucker there, I got somebody there on the Monday, when I was told about it, and I was detailed to be in charge. I got somebody there on the Monday, and he couldn't do it, because Neil Tucker had laid the drain in such a way that he couldn't possibly move it. So I had to ask Neil Tucker. Neil Tucker was away. I mean, do you want all this?
No.
No, you
not-
don't. But we did our very best, and by the time the old folks came, it was cleared.
How did you know they were blocked?
Because
First didn't work.
I was told by the rest of the
Yeah, first
committee. No.
They should have told you. That's what Sue's saying.
Okay,
Right.
right, matters of report and items for the next meeting. Nothing from me.
No, nothing me.
Any members?
Oh, one item of report, Mr Chairman. I was told by this traffic engineer lady that they're going to close the A371.
Yeah, yeah.
And Rodney started
Yes.
and it's going to be closed for quite some time.
Yeah.
6 months.
Yeah.
Three
So because,
Potential 6.
because they're going
What's being closed?
well, the telecoms, the water, the gas, they're going to have to all do their work
All at once.
And the
then
126
there
bus
is-
from Western Supermarket will come through Wedmore.
And
Yeah.
so a lot more traffic.
you can see the bus service back.
Yeah, we've got 126 going through.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So you can hijack it and get on.
One other thing, how much interest have we got in this defibrillator?
None at all.
It
None
went
at all, nothing to do with us, it's a medical equipment function.
Okay, because there are issues with it.
What, the one outside?
Yeah,
Mike Rippon is dealing with it.
okay.
He took it upon himself to make inquiries with the medical equipment, and I've seen some emails between the two of the parties, because I know the thing's rusting out and the equipment doesn't work and all the rest of it.
Are there emails between Mike Rippon then and the Wedmore Health
Yes.
Trust?
Yes.
So basically we can come out of this.
Absolutely nothing to do with us at all. We don't
That's
provide
okay.
it, we're not responsible for the maintenance of
Right.
it. They've never asked for any money for it. It's a totally separate.
They're trying to group them together,
Right,
aren't they?
Because the ambulance service or the Red Cross.
Yeah,
No,
but
it's
they,
just
but
Lions.
they're trying to
Lions
pull
is what's
away.
amazing.
Yeah, that's just-
No, what we're saying is that
It's
the
unpredictable.
the Heart Foundation are trying to do a countrywide plan on.
Yes.
Okay,
Nothing
Nothing to do with us, Gav.
thank you
Thank you, Neil.
and good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good taking the time.
Thank you, mate.
The heritage report is our PDF. Well, email somewhere. You won't be able to use it.